A night at the museum. Rebecca Walsh tucked a loose strand of auburn hair behind her ear as she navigated through the crowded ballroom of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. The annual charity gala was in full swing, with Manhattan's elite mingling beneath crystal chandeliers that cast dancing shadows across marble floors. At 23, Rebecca felt utterly out of place among the designer gowns and tailored tuxedos. Her simple black dress, bought on sale 3 months ago, suddenly felt inadequate. She clutched a tray of champagne flutes, her role as volunteer server a requirement of her museum internship. The position paid barely enough to cover her student loans and the tiny studio apartment she shared with 2 roommates in Queens. But she loved art with a passion that transcended financial struggle, and being surrounded by masterpieces every day made the sacrifices worthwhile. Rebecca's thoughts wandered to her mother back home in Ohio, battling rheumatoid arthritis that had forced early retirement. Every spare dollar Rebecca earned went toward medical bills, leaving little room for the social life her college friends enjoyed. Dates, relationships, even casual coffee meetups had become luxuries she could not afford. Lost in thought, Rebecca did not notice the tall figure stepping backward until it was too late. The tray tilted, champagne glasses tumbling in slow motion. Cold liquid splashed across an impeccably tailored navy suit. The collision that changed everything. "Oh my goodness, I am so sorry," Rebecca gasped, her face burning crimson as she fumbled for napkins. "I was not paying attention. Please, let me help." The man turned, and Rebecca's breath caught. He was striking in a way that transcended mere handsomeness. Dark hair, touched with silver at the temples, framed a face with sharp cheekbones and a strong jaw. But it was his eyes that held her frozen, stormy gray depths that seemed to see straight through her panic to something deeper. "It's just champagne," he said, his voice a deep baritone that sent unexpected shivers down her spine. "The suit will survive." "But it looks expensive," Rebecca continued, dabbing ineffectively at the wet spots. "I can pay for the cleaning. It might take me a few months, but I promise I will." A smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. "A few months? I'm an intern here," she explained, gesturing around the museum. "The pay is not exactly generous, but I love the work. Art history is my passion, even if it does not pay the bills very well." He studied her with an intensity that made her self-conscious. "You do not know who I am, do you?" Rebecca blinked. "Should I? Are you an artist?" "I'm sorry. I'm still learning about contemporary creators. My focus is Renaissance period, specifically Caravaggio and his influence on Baroque painting." The man laughed, a genuine sound that transformed his serious features. "I'm Daniel Cross. I own Crosstech Industries." Recognition flickered. Even Rebecca, who lived under a rock regarding current events, had heard of Crosstech. The company revolutionized cloud computing and artificial intelligence, making its founder one of the youngest billionaires in America. "Oh," she breathed. "Oh no, I just dumped champagne on a billionaire." "You did," Daniel agreed, amusement dancing in his eyes. "And you're the first person in years to treat me like a regular human being instead of a walking bank account." An honest conversation. Something about his words, tinged with loneliness beneath the humor, loosened Rebecca's tongue. "Well, to be fair, I treat everyone like regular human beings. It's kind of my default setting. I'm not really good at the whole social hierarchy thing." "What are you good at?" Daniel asked, signaling a passing waiter for napkins. "Art," Rebecca said immediately. "I can spend hours in front of a single painting, analyzing brushstrokes and color theory. I can tell you why Rembrandt's self-portraits reveal his psychological state, or how Artemisia Gentileschi challenged gender norms through biblical narratives." She paused, suddenly embarrassed. "Sorry, I tend to ramble about art." "Don't apologize," Daniel said softly. "It's refreshing to hear someone speak with genuine passion instead of calculated networking." They stood in an awkward bubble amid the swirling party, cleanup forgotten. Rebecca knew she should excuse herself and return to work, but something kept her rooted in place. This man, this billionaire who could buy the entire museum without blinking, looked at her with curiosity rather than dismissal. "Can I ask you something?" Daniel tilted his head. and I want you to be completely honest. Okay, Rebecca agreed hesitantly. When was the last time you did something purely for yourself? Not for work, not for family obligations. Just for Rebecca. The question pierced through her defenses. Rebecca felt tears prick her eyes and blinked them back furiously. I don't remember, she admitted quietly. Between work and sending money home for my mom's treatments and trying to finish my master's thesis, there's not much time for me. The confession. Daniel stepped closer, and Rebecca caught the scent of his cologne, something woodsy and expensive. Tell me something else, he said. Something you've never told anyone. Later, Rebecca would wonder what possessed her to confide in a complete stranger. Maybe it was the genuine interest in his eyes. Maybe it was the exhaustion of maintaining a brave face for so long. Maybe it was simply that he felt safe in his honesty. I've never had a real relationship. The words tumbled out before she could stop them. Not just romantic. I mean, I've never been close enough to anyone to truly let them in. I'm 23, and I've never been on an actual date. Never been kissed. Never experienced what everyone else seems to find so easily. Rebecca's cheeks flamed. I'm sorry. I don't know why I just told you that. You're a stranger, and I sound pathetic. You don't sound pathetic, Daniel said firmly. You sound honest, and honesty is the rarest commodity in my world. He pulled a business card from his pocket, pressing it into her trembling hand. I have a proposition for you, Rebecca Walsh. And before you panic, it's not what you think. An unusual offer. I collect art, Daniel continued, but I'm terrible at understanding it beyond investment value. I need someone who sees the soul in paintings, not just price tags. I'd like to hire you as my personal art consultant. Rebecca stared at the card, elegant black letters on cream cardstock. I'm just an intern. There are actual experts who could help you. I don't want experts who tell me what they think I want to hear, Daniel countered. I want someone who loves art for itself. And in return, I'll pay you enough to cover your mother's medical bills and your own living expenses. You'll have time to finish your thesis without working 3 jobs. Why? Rebecca whispered. Why me? Daniel's expression softened. Because in a room full of people pretending to be something they're not, you're the only one being genuine. And because your confession intrigued me. Someone so dedicated to caring for others that she's forgotten how to live for herself. I'd like to show you what you're missing. This sounds like a romance novel setup. Rebecca tried to joke, but her voice shook. Maybe it is, Daniel smiled. Or maybe it's just 2 people who could help each other. You teach me to see beauty. I teach you to take chances. No strings, no expectations beyond that. Just possibilities. Rebecca looked from the card to his face, seeing challenge and invitation in equal measure. Every practical bone in her body screamed to walk away, to not complicate her already complicated life. But a tiny voice, one she had suppressed for years, whispered that maybe, just maybe, she deserved something more than endless sacrifice. When would I start? She heard herself ask. That Daniel's smile could have lit the entire museum. Tomorrow night. I'm attending a gallery opening in Chelsea. Meet me there at 7. First steps. As Rebecca walked away, she clutched the business card like a lifeline. She did not notice the elegant blonde woman watching from across the ballroom, champagne flute frozen halfway to crimson lips, green eyes narrowing with calculation. Charlotte Whitmore had not expected to see Daniel cross tonight, let alone see him engaged in animated conversation with some nobody in a discount dress. Charlotte had spent 2 years carefully rebuilding her image after their disastrous broken engagement, positioning herself for a reconciliation that would restore her social standing and access to Daniel's fortune. Now this girl, this child, threatened everything with her wide eyes and obvious innocence. Charlotte smiled slowly, a predator's expression. She had destroyed threats before. This one would be no different. Back in her shared apartment that night, Rebecca could not sleep. She kept turning Daniel's card over in her hands, questioning her sanity. Billionaires did not hire museum interns as art consultants. They did not offer life-changing opportunities based on a 5-minute conversation and spilled champagne. Yet something in Daniel's eyes had been real. The loneliness, the search for authenticity in a world of facades. Rebecca understood that feeling intimately. She had spent years being what others needed, suppressing her own desires until they became background noise. Maybe it was time to be a little selfish. Maybe it was time to discover who Rebecca Walsh could be when she stopped carrying the weight of the world alone. Tomorrow night at 7, she would find out retries of the gallery opening. Rebecca changed outfits 5 times before settling on a simple emerald dress she borrowed from her roommate Jessica. The color brought out the gold flecks in her hazel eyes, and the cut was elegant without being pretentious. She arrived at the Chelsea Gallery 10 minutes early, nerves making her palms sweat despite the cool October evening. Daniel was already there, standing before a massive abstract canvas, hands in the pockets of charcoal slacks. He wore a white button-down with sleeves rolled to his elbows, looking more relaxed than at the formal gala. When he spotted Rebecca, his entire face transformed with a smile that made her heart skip. "You came," he said, as if he had genuinely doubted she would. "You offered to pay my mother's medical bills," Rebecca replied, aiming for lightness. "I'd be crazy to refuse." "Is that the only reason?" Daniel asked, moving closer. The gallery buzzed with conversations around them, but Rebecca felt cocooned in their private bubble. "No," she admitted honestly. "I wanted to see you again. I wanted to understand why a billionaire would be interested in someone like me." "Someone like you," Daniel repeated, his gray eyes intense. "You mean someone genuine? Someone who speaks without an agenda? Someone whose face shows every emotion instead of hiding behind social masks?" He gestured toward the crowded room. "I'm surrounded by people who want something from me every day. Money, connections, status. You're the first person in years who wanted nothing except to apologize for spilled champagne." Learning to see. They moved through the gallery together, Rebecca explaining techniques and symbolism while Daniel listened with focused attention that made her feel like the most important person in the world. She forgot her nervousness, lost in discussing color theory and the artist's use of negative space. "You light up when you talk about art," Daniel observed as they paused before a sculpture. "Your whole body language changes. You become more animated, confident." Rebecca ducked her head, self-conscious. "It's the one thing I know I'm good at. Everything else in my life feels like I'm barely keeping my head above water, but art makes sense to me." "What if you could have more than just art?" Daniel asked quietly. "What if you could have experiences, adventures, all the things you've sacrificed?" "Like what?" Rebecca challenged. "Fancy restaurants I wouldn't know how to navigate. Social events where I don't speak the language. I'm not Cinderella, and you're not a fairy godmother." Daniel laughed, the sound drawing curious glances from nearby gallery patrons. "Fairy godfather, at least. But you're right. I'm not offering magic. I'm offering a deal. You consult for me 3 evenings a week. Gallery visits, auction previews, helping me understand what I'm collecting beyond dollar signs. In return, I pay you $10,000 monthly plus cover your mother's medical expenses." Rebecca's knees nearly buckled. $10,000 was more than she made in 6 months at the museum. "That's too much." "It's what you're worth," Daniel corrected. "Actually, it's probably less than you're worth, but I'm starting conservatively." His expression turned serious. "I have one condition beyond the work itself." Rebecca's stomach tightened. Here it came, the catch that seemed too good to be true. "What condition?" "You have to promise to do one thing purely for yourself each week," Daniel said, late-night revelations. Over the following weeks, Rebecca fell into a routine that felt like stepping into an alternate reality. Tuesday and Thursday evenings, she met Daniel at galleries, private collections, and artist studios. He was an attentive student, asking insightful questions and genuinely engaging with her explanations. But more than that, he seemed interested in her beyond her expertise. "Tell me about growing up in Ohio," he said one Thursday as they sat in a quiet wine bar after viewing a collection of Impressionist paintings. Rebecca sipped her glass of Chardonnay, still getting used to wines that cost more than her weekly grocery budget. "It was ordinary. Small town. Everyone knows everyone. My dad left when I was 12, couldn't handle my mom's diagnosis. After that, it was just us." "That must have been hard," Daniel said softly. "It was," Rebecca agreed, "but also taught me resilience. And it showed me what real love looks like. My mom never complained, Never made me feel like a burden, even though I know I disrupted her life by being born. She worked 2 jobs to save for my college fund while managing her condition. How could I not do everything possible to help her now? Daniel reached across the table, his fingers brushing hers. The contact sent electricity through Rebecca's arm. You're allowed to help her and still have your own life. Says the man who works 80-hour weeks, Rebecca countered, but she did not pull her hand away. Touché, Daniel smiled. Maybe we're both learning. The moment stretched, intimate despite the public setting. Rebecca felt something shift between them, friendship bleeding into territory that both thrilled and terrified her. The kiss. It happened on a rainy November evening. They had spent 3 hours at a private showing of Baroque paintings, Rebecca's specialty. She had been animated, passionate, and Daniel had watched her with an expression that made breathing difficult. Afterward, they stood under the gallery awning as rain poured down, waiting for Daniel's driver. Rebecca shivered in her thin coat, and Daniel immediately shrugged off his jacket, draping it over her shoulders. The gesture was simple, but the care behind it made tears prick her eyes. Thank you, she whispered, for everything. These past weeks have been the happiest of my life. Mine too, Daniel said, and the raw honesty in his voice made her look up. They stood too close, rain misting around them, the city lights reflecting in puddles at their feet. Daniel's hand came up slowly, giving her time to pull away, cupping her cheek with heartbreaking gentleness. I want to kiss you, he murmured, but I need you to want it too. Not because you work for me, not because you feel obligated, because you want me the way I want you. Rebecca's heart thundered so loud she was certain he could hear it. I've never been kissed before, she reminded him, voice trembling. I don't know what I'm doing. Neither do I, Daniel said. Not with you. Everything feels different with you. When his lips met hers, Rebecca understood why people wrote poems about kissing. It was soft and searching, a question and answer all at once. Daniel kissed her like she was precious, fragile, someone to be cherished rather than conquered. When they finally separated, both breathing heavily, Rebecca felt transformed. Wow, she breathed. Yeah, Daniel agreed, resting his forehead against hers. Wow, the media storm. Their secret stayed protected for exactly 5 more days. Rebecca was leaving Daniel's penthouse after an evening of reviewing auction catalogs when a camera flash blinded her. More flashes followed, accompanied by shouted questions. Miss, what's your relationship with Daniel Cross? How long have you been seeing him? Does his ex-fiancée know? Rebecca froze, terrified, until Daniel appeared beside her, his arm protectively around her waist as he guided her to the waiting car. But the damage was done. By morning, photos plastered every gossip site and tabloid. The headlines were brutal. Tech billionaire's mystery girl, gold digger, or true love. Daniel Cross moves on with museum nobody. From intern to billionaire's girlfriend. The Rebecca Walsh story. Rebecca's phone exploded with messages from friends, family, and strangers. Her mother called, worried and confused. Jessica and her other roommate looked at her with new eyes, seeing someone they suddenly did not know. The museum director summoned her to his office. I'm afraid we have to let you go, he said, not meeting her eyes. The publicity is causing problems. Donors are asking questions. It's better if you resign quietly. Rebecca walked out of the museum in a daze, her dream position evaporating like morning mist. Everything she had worked for, her reputation, her credibility, all destroyed because she dared to care for someone above her station. Charlotte's return. The woman appeared at Rebecca's apartment building that evening, all blonde perfection in a cream cashmere coat. Rebecca recognized her from photos online during her panicked research about Daniel's past. Rebecca Walsh, Charlotte Whitmore said, her smile sharp as broken glass. We should talk. I don't think we have anything to discuss, Rebecca replied, trying to move past. Charlotte blocked her path. Oh, but we do. You see, Daniel has a pattern. He finds sweet, innocent girls and plays hero. Makes them dependent on him. Then when the novelty wears off, he discards them. She leaned closer. Did he tell you about Melissa, the waitress before me? Or Hannah, the volunteer at his foundation? You're not special, darling. You're just the latest project. You're lying, Rebecca said, but doubt crept in like poison. Am I? Charlotte pulled out her phone, showing photos of Daniel with other women, none of whom Rebecca recognized. He likes fixing broken things. But people aren't paintings you can restore. Eventually, he'll realize you're too much work and move on to the next charity case. Tears streamed down Rebecca's face as Charlotte walked away, her laughter echoing in the evening air. Rebecca stumbled into her apartment, Charlotte's words replaying in her mind. What she was right. What if this whole thing was just Daniel playing savior to someone he found amusing? The text from Daniel came 20 minutes later. We need to talk. Can I come over? Rebecca stared at the message, heartbreaking. She loved him. Somewhere in the past weeks, despite her best intentions, she had fallen completely in love with Daniel Cross. And that meant she had to protect herself before he shattered her. I can't do this anymore, she typed back. I'm sorry. It was a mistake. She blocked his number before he could respond, then collapsed on her bed and cried until no tears remained. The investigation. Daniel stared at his phone in disbelief. Rebecca's message felt wrong, out of character from the woman who always confronted problems directly. Something had happened between their kiss goodbye that morning and now. Something that scared her enough to run. He called his head of security, Trevor Bronson, a former FBI agent who handled sensitive matters with discretion. I need you to find out what happened to Rebecca Walsh in the last 8 hours. Someone got to her. Trevor delivered results by midnight. Security footage from Rebecca's apartment building showed Charlotte's visit. A few well-placed calls revealed Charlotte had been spreading rumors about Daniel's supposed pattern of using vulnerable women. White-hot fury burned through Daniel's chest. Charlotte had already destroyed their relationship once with her cheating and manipulation. Now she was poisoning his chance at real happiness because she could not stand seeing him move on. Give me everything, Daniel told Trevor. Every lie Charlotte has spread. Every person she's paid off. Every dirty trick. I want a complete file. Rebecca's heartbreak. The next 2 weeks were agony. Rebecca moved through life like a ghost, going through motions without feeling. She had gotten 3 interview rejections from other museums, all vaguely citing concerns about professionalism. Charlotte's campaign was working, destroying Rebecca's reputation in the tight-knit art world. Her mother called daily, concerned about the sudden end of medical bill payments and Rebecca's obvious distress. Baby, what happened? Did that man hurt you? No, Mama, Rebecca said tiredly. I hurt myself by believing in fairy tales. Jessica tried to comfort her. Maybe you should talk to him. Hear his side. What's the point? Rebecca asked. We were never going to work. I was fooling myself thinking someone like him could really want someone like me. But late at night, Rebecca's resolve cracked. She missed Daniel with a physical ache that no amount of logic could ease. Missed his laugh, his thoughtful questions, the way he looked at her like she hung the moon. Missed feeling like she mattered beyond her usefulness to others. The truth revealed Daniel spent those same 2 weeks building his case. Trevor uncovered a web of Charlotte's manipulations stretching back years. Bribes to journalists for favorable coverage, payments to women to claim relationships with Daniel that never existed. Even proof that Charlotte had sabotaged his business deals during their engagement to keep him dependent on her family's connections. But the smoking gun came from an unexpected source. Melissa Grant, one of the women Charlotte claimed Daniel had used, reached out through his assistant. I saw the news about you and that girl, Melissa said when they met. Charlotte Whitmore called me 2 years ago, offered me $50,000 to say we had an affair and you dumped me cruelly. I was broke and stupid, so I took the money. But what she's doing to that young woman is wrong. I want to come clean. Hannah Torres, another supposed victim, had a similar story. Charlotte had created an entire false narrative, weaponizing Daniel's genuine philanthropy into something ugly. Armed with evidence, Daniel scheduled a press conference. But first, he needed to see Rebecca, even if she refused to speak with him. He needed her to hear the truth directly, not filtered through media or Charlotte's poison. The confrontation. Daniel showed up at Rebecca's apartment at 7 in the morning, knowing she could not avoid him in person. She answered the door in pajamas, eyes red-rimmed, looking fragile in a way that made him want to break things. "Please don't," Rebecca said immediately. "This is hard enough." "Then let me make it easier," Daniel said. 5 minutes. That's all I ask. If you still want me gone after that, I'll leave and never contact you again." Rebecca hesitated, then stepped aside. Daniel entered the tiny apartment, struck by how different it was from his penthouse. Cramped but clean, filled with books and museum prints. A home built on love rather than money. "Charlotte came to see you," Daniel stated, not asking. Rebecca's expression confirmed it. "She told me the truth about your pattern of fixing broken women." "She told you lies," Daniel corrected. "Carefully constructed lies designed to destroy us." He pulled out his tablet, showing her the evidence Trevor had compiled. "Those women she showed you? Paid actresses. The relationships she claimed? Fabricated. Charlotte has been systematically destroying anyone who threatens her plans to manipulate her way back into my life and my fortune." Rebecca watched the videos, read the statements, her face cycling through shock, anger, and devastation. Why would she go to such lengths? "Because she's a narcissist who sees people as possessions," Daniel said. "When I ended our engagement after discovering her cheating, she lost access to my money and status. She spent 2 years trying to manufacture a reconciliation. Then you appeared, genuine and real, everything she's not. You terrified her because you succeeded where all her manipulations failed. You made me feel something. The grand gesture." Rebecca looked up at him, tears streaming. "I'm sorry I didn't trust you. I should have asked instead of running." "You were protecting yourself," Daniel said, moving closer. "After everything I told you about my past, you had reason to doubt. But I need you to understand something. I love you, Rebecca. Not as a project, not as charity, not as some temporary fascination. I love the woman who gets passionate about brushstrokes. The woman who sacrifices everything for her mother. The woman who confessed her inexperience and trusted me anyway. I love you, and I'm going to prove it." "Ow," Rebecca whispered. "By fighting for us publicly the way I should have from the start," Daniel said. "I have a press conference scheduled for tomorrow. I'm exposing Charlotte's schemes and declaring my relationship with you to the world. I'm also establishing a foundation in your name to support art history students from underprivileged backgrounds. Your passion for art, your knowledge, your dedication deserves recognition, not shame." "Daniel, that's too much." "It's not enough," he countered. "You lost your job, your reputation, your peace of mind because of me. Let me try to make it right. Not by fixing you, because you were never broken. By standing beside you and showing the world what I see. A brilliant, compassionate, extraordinary woman who deserves everything." Rebecca threw herself into his arms, sobbing into his chest. Daniel held her tight, feeling pieces of his heart he did not know were broken finally heal. They stayed like that for long minutes, finding comfort in simple embrace. The press conference. The next day, Daniel stood before a room full of reporters with Rebecca at his side. He wore a simple suit, but Rebecca wore a stunning blue dress Daniel had bought for her. Along with confidence, she was reclaiming one breath at a time. "I called this conference to address recent media coverage about my personal life," Daniel began. "Specifically, the relationship between myself and Rebecca Walsh, which has been characterized as everything from scandal to gold digging." He took Rebecca's hand, squeezing gently. "The truth is much simpler. I met an incredible woman who saw me as a person, not a bank account, who challenged me, taught me, and made me want to be better. I fell in love with her completely." Cameras flashed as murmurs rippled through the crowd. Daniel continued, "Unfortunately, my ex-fiancée, Charlotte Whitmore, could not accept my happiness. She orchestrated a campaign of lies and manipulation designed to destroy Rebecca's reputation and drive us apart." He presented the evidence methodically, watching reporters' expressions shift from skepticism to shock. Charlotte, sitting in the back row, went pale as her schemes unraveled publicly. She stood to leave, but security blocked the exits. "Miss Whitmore, please stay," Daniel said coldly. "I believe the police will want to speak with you about fraud and defamation." Officers waiting outside entered on cue. Charlotte's carefully constructed mask crumbled as handcuffs clicked around her wrists. "You'll regret this," she hissed at Daniel. "The only thing I regret," Daniel replied, "is not protecting Rebecca from you sooner." As Charlotte was escorted out, Daniel turned back to the cameras. "I'm also announcing the Rebecca Walsh Foundation for Art Education, endowed with $50 million to provide scholarships and opportunities for talented students regardless of financial background. Because the woman beside me proved that passion and dedication matter more than pedigree." The proposal. Later that evening, Daniel took Rebecca to the Metropolitan Museum where they first met. He had arranged private access, and they walked through empty galleries lit only by security lights, their footsteps echoing on marble floors. "This is where it started," Rebecca said softly, pausing before a Caravaggio painting. "Where you saw me instead of invisible help." "I saw you because you were impossible not to see," Daniel corrected. "You were the brightest thing in that entire ballroom." He turned to face her fully, taking both her hands. "These past months have been the best of my life. You've taught me that success means nothing without someone to share it with. That vulnerability is strength, not weakness. That love is worth any risk." Rebecca's breath caught as Daniel knelt, producing a velvet box. Inside sat a ring, a simple emerald surrounded by diamonds, elegant and understated. "Rebecca Walsh, I know we have not known each other long," Daniel said, his voice thick with emotion. "I know there are people who will say this is too fast, too impulsive. But when you find the person who makes you believe in magic again, you don't let practicality hold you back. Marry me, not because I want to take care of you, but because I want to partner with you. Build a life together. Face every challenge side by side. Will you marry me?" Rebecca dropped to her knees, cupping his face in her hands. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." The kiss they shared in that quiet gallery, surrounded by centuries of artistic beauty, felt like its own masterpiece. A testament to taking chances, trusting hearts, and believing that sometimes fairy tales do come true, just not in the ways we expect. Epilogue. 1 year later, Rebecca stood in the newly opened Walsh Foundation headquarters, watching young art students tour the facility that would fund their dreams. Her master's thesis had been published to critical acclaim, and she now served as curator for Daniel's growing collection of emerging artists. Daniel joined her, wrapping arms around her waist from behind. "Happy?" Deliriously, Rebecca smiled, leaning into his embrace. "Though I still can't believe this is real sometimes." "Believe it," Daniel murmured against her hair. "We built this together. You brought the vision, I brought the resources, and together we're changing lives." Rebecca turned in his arms, studying the man who had transformed her world with spilled champagne and patient love. "I love you, Daniel Cross." "I love you, Rebecca Cross," he replied, still savoring the newness of her married name. "My confessor, my teacher, my partner in everything." As they kissed in the gallery filled with hope and possibility, both knew their greatest masterpiece was not art or philanthropy or even the foundation that would touch countless lives. It was the love they had fought for, protected, and chosen every single day. A love that proved innocence and experience could learn from each other, that vulnerability was courage, and that the best confessions were the ones that set hearts free.